Presentation is called Writing in the Mathematics Classroom. It is presented by Laura Hanley for the EDU 723 class, Week 2 assignment, University of New England, November 4th, 2017. Why write in mathematics? It is my true belief that writing in mathematics increases students' understanding of the content as well as improves their mathematical communication skills. This is my overall goal for many of my students, or all of my students in my classes. The major reasons for having students write in math. According to the research I have found, having students write in their math classes produces two major outcomes. One, it will improve test scores, as noted in the study by Stats and Bettine, 2009, page 36. The same results are also noted at the University Park Campus School in Worcester, Mass. It will strengthen metacognitive skills, which will have a great impact on student learning in general. That's the second reason for having students write in math. Hicks, 2013, lists the metacognitive skills as one of the 8 habits of mind needed for students to attain college and career readiness, which is clearly a very important skill for these students to leave high school with. Student bias. Many students have a very negative association between writing and the mathematics classroom. In my own experiences, I have often find students push back against writing assignments in math class when assigned. A common phrase I hear is that this is math. We don't have to write in math. That's for English. One of the largest battles for us as teachers is to get students to realize that writing is a tool that can be used across the curriculum. Santos and Simana found that students seem to be much more concerned with the correct answer rather than being able to explain their answer. The writing piece was not very important to those students, only that they could actually solve the problem. From a student's point of view, this is a 12-year-old student, which was part of a case study. He describes his view on justifying his answers. It's more important the steps we have done to solve the task and the conclusions we have taken from the exercises. I think that is the most important. Explaining how and why can always be improved and be done in other ways, but what we really have done is the more important. Duarte, 12 years old. This is done in the case study by Santos and Semana, 2015. And the student is not an English-speaking student, so as you can see, some of his language skills are a little weaker, which might be part of the reason that he doesn't want to explain, but moreover, he doesn't see the importance in it. The ways students can write in mathematics. The first way, and probably the most common way, is that they can explain their reasoning and justify the solution to a problem. Santos and Samana, 2015, found that students produced 4 types of responses when asked to explain their reasoning. The first was a vague/broad statement, unclear or uninformative explanation. The second was a rule, an exclusive use of the rule, algorithm, or a definition. The third was a procedural description, an explanation of what is done in a certain step without the explanation of why that step is valid. And lastly, a relational justification, which was an explanation for why a step is valid, not including the explanation of what is done in a certain step. So those were the 4 types of feedback or of results that they saw when they asked those students to reason and justify their solutions. Stats and Bettine, 2009, note the importance of using the idea of a justification to justify a solution to a real-world problem, where students must synthesize the real-world data as well. This will increase engagement in students. Stats and Bettine, 2009 state, writing a response to an interdisciplinary math lesson requires students to write about the details of context that they found the most compelling. Incorporating contextual information into the mathematical writing is a complex skill. The depth of the contextual detail, the quality of the mathematical work, and the degree to which students relate this work to context are likely to vary a great deal. Interdisciplinary math writing assignments will allow teachers of connected math curricula to determine their students' ability to synthesize different areas of knowledge. Page 35. Other ways that students can write in mathematics are they can use self-assessment, they can describe their learning process, how they came to learn or understand the idea, They can reflect on their own ideas and own concepts that they've come up with. They can describe the goal or the objective of a problem at hand. And they can provide feedback to peers and analyze others' work. Formative assessment. Writing in mathematics is a wonderful formative assessment. It allows teachers to understand where the students' misconceptions lie. It also helps teachers give adequate and specific support to each individual student. This support may take on many forms, from a one-on-one help session to adjusting the curriculum pace or the content of your lessons. Santos and Samana, 2015, page 66. Formative assessment is something that generally disseminated by the teacher, but if students are taught self-assessment skills, the ownership of the assessment reverts back to those students, and that can be a much more powerful tool. Self-assessment, as an internal process of regulation of students' own thinking and learning, is vital for effective learning. Santos and Samana, 2015, page 68. Difficulties with writing in the mathematics classroom. Not only do students have trouble wrapping their minds around the foreign idea of writing in the mathematics classroom, teachers also have to adjust to this concept. One of the most common concerns is that there is not enough time in the year to teach all of the required math content and teach the students to be fluent writers of mathematics. McCormick, 2010, responds to this by saying, "I found that ultimately this problem solves itself. As the semester progresses, I can assign increasing more complex problems for students to write about, which extend far deeper into the mathematics than class time allows." Best practices for mathematics teachers. The number one item that all researchers discussed was the importance of good feedback to students to improve their writing skills. A combination of good written feedback as well as verbal feedback is important for students to strengthen their writing skills. The students have noted that the most meaningful feedback comes from the individual responses I include about the quality of their work. I always begin by stating at least one specific strength, reinforcing what they did well, since a major part of my role as an educator is to support and encourage my students in their learning. I also include clear statements about how they can improve their explanations and correct any misconceptions I find. It's a quote by McCormick, 2010, page 3. Sample of feedback given by McCormick, 2010. For example, I included the following feedback on one student's work. "I like how you use the meaning of multiplication to help you solve this problem. You also did a nice job using an array to show why Ted's method was wrong, and then how he could correctly calculate 12 times 15 using an array in the distributive property. Your explanation is insightful and correct. On your last page, can you arrange the smaller rectangles within the larger rectangle so that the dimensions of both are aligned, which will make your diagram even clearer?" Though it is time-consuming, other educators, Liebars, 1999, and I have found that our effort is rewarded by their growth. I also have found that this is the best way to learn about my students' misconceptions and to formatively assess their understandings. This is another quote from McCormick on giving feedback, 2010. Continuing with best practices for teachers, not only is it good to have feedback from the teacher, McCormick 2010 states she also uses writing circles, where peers give feedback to each other on their quality of writing. Another strategy, whose importance is stressed by McCormick, is highlighting and decoding good exemplars with our students. A third idea is not limiting the number of times a student can resubmit an assignment. It's a great way to encourage student reflection. And finally, low-stakes writing opportunities that are provided often will help students to not feel as though they have to write perfectly, as if they're being assessed on their writing, but allow them to freely express ideas and think more deeply. That's from the Edutopia video, 2016. The final piece of advice for implementing writing in the classroom is to teach teachers how to write mathematically and help them see the importance of it. Many teachers, especially elementary school teachers, see writing in mathematics as a foreign concept. They must be exposed to it at some point to truly understand how to present writing opportunities to their students and how to give and receive valuable feedback for that writing. In my own classroom, a lot of the information I have found confirmed my ideas about writing in mathematics. I currently have my students correct and reflect on their own work. That is something I will continue doing. What I would like to incorporate from what I've read is to have students peer assess each other's writing. I think it would be very beneficial for students to get another point of view from mine, and it will also strengthen their own writing skills and understanding of the concept if they're going to give feedback on another student's work. In addition to that, I spend time modeling what good writing in math looks like and offer students more exemplars to help them craft their justifications or responses. One of the things I already do in my classroom is have students post to a discussion board with explanations and answers to challenging questions or with a response to a video about a new topic. Firstly, I would like to see this occur more often in my class so students get more low-stakes opportunities to write. Secondly, I would like for the students to offer feedback to each other and have to comment on their peers' responses. This is not something I currently do, but think the extra level of feedback provided will help them to think more deeply about the topic at hand. I have also thought about deepening the level to which my students self-assess their work. Currently, I have them rate themselves on a 1 to 4 scale, depending on their level of understanding combined with their level of completion of the task. If I additionally added a component where students needed to write a narrative describing how well they understood the concept, it would give me a much clearer view of the student's understanding. While I do this sparingly as an exit ticket, I would like to see it implemented after each lesson. I could also incorporate more assessments where students not only have to show their work, but explain to me the process of arriving at their answer and why they were able to use that process. These strategies will surely enrich my students' mathematical understanding. In conclusion, it seems to be definitive that writing in mathematics will strengthen a student's understanding of the content they're learning. Having students justify their answers and reasoning is a very valuable way to help students learn and grow. After the students have written anything, it is important to give valuable feedback for the students to reflect on and hopefully revise their work. Teachers need to be taught how to teach writing in mathematics for it to be implemented successfully. Once done, so it can improve the students' test scores and their ability to think more deeply about the subject. Simple writing and feedback strategies can easily be implemented into a regular classroom routine, and because of the deeper thinking that is happening, content will not need to be cut out in order to accomplish this goal. Here are the resources for this presentation.